So now I'm going to start to show you how it puts together. Now what you will need is some florist wires. So these are different gauges. So this one, the larger one of the two, which is 12 inches, is a 18 gauge. I use the 18 gauge for flowers that I want to stand up, because obviously they are they need a little bit of support, so that's quite a strong one. For the actual leaves, I wanted something a little bit more flexible, so I think this one is a 22 gauge. Okay, so first of all we're going to start off with, we're going to need a heat gun. You can do it with glue, but honestly it's so much easier with a heat gun because it's so much quicker and it's instant. So I'm going to take my strip here first, and I'm very lightly going to persuade it just to do a little curl, just gently. I don't want too much of a curl, just a little one, so it just starts me off. So I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to just add a little bit of glue to the end of my strip. So I'm just popping that on, and then I'm going to start just rolling it around. Now what I want you to do is to leave a little bit sticking out the end. That will become apparent in a moment. So I'm just rolling it around just 2 or 3 times, and then I'm just going to add another little bit of glue just to hold it in place. Okay, so that's quite okay there, but what can happen, it can slip up and down the stem. So what I like to do is just take a pair of pliers, and I'm just going to bend that over. Sorry, I'm just bending it over and flattening it down. So don't worry if you can see these little pieces are sort of hanging around, that doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're going to roll it back over, and we're going to cover that piece in the middle. So you keep rolling, add a little bit of glue, and then I generally roll 3 or 4 times before I'll go back and I'll add a little bit more glue. Sorry, it's my glue gun keeps falling over. Okay, just keep rolling it. You want it to be reasonably tight, but you don't want it to be so tight that you've got no movement in it. A little bit more. Keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. Okay, and you roll that right to the very end, and then just add a little bit of glue at the end just to secure it in place. Okay, now you'll find because you've bent that end of your wire, that's not going to go anywhere, so it's quite secure and quite safe. Obviously with the heat gun you do get stringy bits which you can just pull away. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to fan this. So just using my fingers, you can be reasonably robust with it. Don't feel, afraid of it. Just fan them out. I always try and support the bottom as well. Just makes it easier, and you can give it a good fan. Okay, so once I've done that, I'm then going to add some glue to the bottom here, and also to that very, very little edge just there. And the reason for that is when we put the first yellow circle on, so this is the first yellow, what's going to happen is I'm going to push it up, and then I'm going to squish it into the edges so that it actually covers that piece there. Okay, so what I tend to do is I tend to put my piece on ready, so it's ready to go. I'm then going to add some glue to that edge, and also a little bit to the bottom, Okay, so push it up and then really squidge it into that edge. And don't worry if you're creasing it, it doesn't matter. You just want that first one just to be up to that edge. You see, and then I'm just going to fan it out again. It does get a bit squashed up as you're doing it. And then you can see that's actually covered that edge, so it gets rid of that sort of harsh edge on it, if you like. So then I'm going to continue and I'm going to add the next two yellow ones. And so what I like to do is to get them on the stick ready, and then I know sort of where I'm going. So I'm going to add some glue to the bottom. Okay, push it down, and what I tend to do is this. So I cup it between my thumb and my first finger, and then it will just give it that nice shape. So I shall repeat it again. Okay, so push it on and then just cup it in your hand. And then you'll see you'll get a nice sort of roundish shape on it. Okay, so that's the centre part done. So next we're going to do it with the daisies. So you want to do exactly the same. You pop one of your small ones on first. Now, don't be tempted to glue this part, because what happens is as soon as the glue hits the wire, it starts cooling, and then it's difficult to get it up the actual stem. So always glue on the base of the actual flower itself. Okay, so again, it does get a bit hot, this bit, so you do have to be a bit careful. So can you see that's the first layer? Okay, so then I'm going to do the second one. Same thing again, bit of glue. And this time I'm just going to offset the petals from the last ones I put in. So you can see, whoops. Again, you don't have to be precise because obviously nature's not precise. So, okay. And then third one finally. I'm going to do the same thing. Push it up. And this time I'm going to fill the gap between the other two petals. So there you go. So that's the start of your flower. Okay. So then I'm going to repeat for the 5 large petals. So first one goes on, and that one can obviously land anywhere you want it to. And then we're going to do the second one. And this time what I like to do is to actually put the petal bang in the middle of the other ones, if you can. It's a bit fiddly when I'm trying to record. Okay, and again I'm going to start just lightly lifting that as I go as well. So can you see that's coming together? Okay, so I'm going to add the other 3 petals, and this time you're just going to sort of fill in any gaps really. So there's no right or wrong place, just where there's a gap, fill it in. Okay, and you're going to repeat it for the other 2. You want your flower to be quite full. And the final thing you're going to do is you're going to put the back of the flower on. So it's exactly the same again. Pop it onto your stem. A little bit of glue. And you can see that just forms the back of your flower. As I said before, I used the finer wire. I'm pretty certain this is 22 gauge, but as I say, it doesn't matter massively. You just don't want it too thick because you want to be able to make it quite pliable. So all I do at the end is just curve it very slightly. Okay, and then I'm going to add some glue just to the center of my leaf, and then I'm going to lay my wire onto it like that. So I'm going to do the same with the other one. Okay, so I'm just going to lay my wire onto it. Now, what we want to do, because I don't like to see the wires on the back, I actually cut double the amount of leaves that I needed so that I could cover them. Now, I found the best way really to do this was with Tombow as opposed to the heat gun, because the heat gun is quite harsh. So I would use the Tombow, but just for quickness, I am going to use the heat gun just because it will dry quicker and I won't have to fiddle around with it too much. Okay, so on it goes, and then you're just going to pinch it together. Okay, now what I like to do is, while it's still a bit malleable, shall we say, just bend your flower round, your leaf round slightly. Okay, so now that's done and the flower is done, I'm just going to show you now how they go together. What I've used is actually florist tape. I don't know if anyone's used this before, but it's not sticky until you stretch it. So once you stretch it, this becomes really tacky. So I'm going to start at the top of my flower, and I'm literally going to wrap it round. Takes a little bit starting off. Once you get started, it's fine. Okay, so as I curl, so I'm going to turn this round and pinch and stretch my tape kind of all at the same time. It takes a bit getting used to. Once you've got the knack of this, it's quite straightforward. So I would stretch a piece, and then I would just twist, 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 twist. And this hand is kind of making the adhesive work, so it sticks it all the way down. Now, because this is still quite slim, I'm actually going to put a second layer on because I think it needs it just to give it its sturdiness. So I'm going to start again at the top. Start twisting, and you'll see instantly it starts becoming a lot thicker than before. So it's entirely up to you where you want to actually position your leaves. But what I did was I actually did bind the top of these first with the florist tape. So I'm forgetting words today. But what you can do is, if you don't want to go to that extreme, you can just pop your leaf onto your stem. And you see where I've wrapped it. And then I'm going to continue wrapping the two stems together. So instantly this will become thicker. Okay, so then I want to add in my other leaf. Okay, so get your first run round. Okay, and then once you've done that, you can then position your leaves exactly where you want them. This is another reason I like to use the Tombow, look, because of these little extra bits you sometimes get. But again, you can pick them off, it's not a problem. Okay, so I'm going to continue twisting, and you'll automatically feel that this second layer does go on a lot better because it's actually clinging to its first layer. You can leave it like that if you wish, but to me it's a little bit top heavy because obviously we've got quite a lot here. So what I then did was I actually ran another layer of florist tape from underneath the leaves, and then I'm just going to run another layer all the way down. So that's how it's made. I hope you'll have a go and let me see what you do. Thank you. Bye.